Hi everyone, it's Sam Gray, the Resonant researcher. Whether you're in front of a middle school choir or directing a community chorus, you know that unclear consonants are one of the fastest ways to muddy a message and lose musical momentum, let alone are the bane of existence for us choir teachers. Today, I'm going to share a kinesthetic approach I've used with my choirs, young and old, to improving consonant clarity in your choir, using hand gestures that are accessible, embodied, and adaptable for singers of all abilities. Let's make language visible together. When singers physically associate sounds with gesture, their muscle memory and spatial awareness enhance their articulation. These gestures serve as visual anchors, especially helpful in warm-ups, in vocalises, in voice-building times, and particularly in choral ensemble settings where alignment and unification are key. And for students with disabilities, especially those with processing, auditory, or cognitive differences, this method offers a multisensory reinforcement of the sound. It's not just vocal, it's visual and tactile. For this, we want to start with the letter B. We're going to go in alphabetical order of consonants, okay? So with the letter B, you're going to bop your palm with a fist, kind of like a beat drop. This voiced bilabial plosive gets a downward bop, okay? And a closed fist gently taps on the open palm. B, 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 B. You can also do it just with your hand gesture without the palm. B, 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 B. When we move to a D, and we're thinking of a D, it's like a quick launch. It encourages the quick tongue movement necessary for the shadow vowel of a D. D, 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 right? So two fingers together like this, and it's like we're pinching with our fingers. D, 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 D. D, 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 D. Here's a sideways example. D, 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 D. For thinking of F, we're wanting to emulate the friction that comes and a tactile reminder of the lip and teeth placement for a happening, right? That our bottom lip goes underneath our teeth. So for that, what I like to do is do a keeping the hand kind of at a 90-degree angle. Thinking specifically of pulling across the bottom lip a little bit. When we're thinking of a G, we want it to kind of be a little bit of a G, an upward lift, right? So we don't want to necessarily think of downward. And this is one that occasionally with my choirs, I just take the G out completely and make it a K sound, K, versus G. But when we have a G and need a G, it should be an upward, thinking upwardly. So what I like to do is do like a little spark from my fingers. G, 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 G. When thinking of an H, I like to think of kind of the opposite of a G, right? But we're pulling all of the air, like a puff of air, together and closing our fist. So, I'll do that again. For K energy, what I like to do is thinking more explosively and more out. So I oftentimes, instead of doing kind of like a G, right, where it's like this, but we flip it around and make it go out and face whomever is out, right? So for example, I'll do that again, but facing sideways. For an L, I like to think much like the F, since it's up forward, right? I like to think kind of a long extension of the L sound, right? Our hand's going to be flat. L, 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 L. So this time, with an L, smooth flowing and lateral motion across, right? And keeping our hands kind of facing upward, like this at us, and going ooh, 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 ooh. Smooth and flowing. Ooh, 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 ooh. Another option, too, especially for those like short, what might be termed Italian L's, if we're thinking forward, la 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 la, thinking la 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 la, la 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 la, l la la la. If we want a little bit more of a plosive sound and percussive sound to the L. In terms of M, much like the L, it's long and gentle, and the F, long and gentle across, except hands are faced in like this. And we're going, m, For the N, very similar, but this time we're closing. And the idea being that this reinforces that this touching reinforces the actual tongue, tip of our tongue going to the gums behind our two front teeth. Okay? And then, for the P, I like to think of it as kind of similar to the K, but it pushes out, right? P for push. So instead of the K, which goes k, 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 for the P, using the palm to push. Or, I'll show that motion sideways. So it's like swinging the palm. For the S, for this, since it's again holding kind of in our mouth, what I like to think of is making a nice little snake out of our two fingers, and doing I also like that one too because S for Sam, right? Then for T, focused and precise. Two fingers, and I like to go t, 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 much like the b, 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 or b, that kind of thing, right? And if you feel like you can have it walk t, 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 for more togetherness, right? Or using both t, 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 right? But this, and having vocalists do this, t, and unifying it together is super important, right? Then for the V sound, very similar to other sort of lip-based consonants, right? We're gonna pull across, much like the M, much like that kind of stuff, much like the N as well. The N, we went this way. Now we're just gonna turn our hands and have it be up. The N goes like this. But V is just it reversed or flipped upside down. I'll do it sideways for you to see. Then for ch, what I like to do for ch is have it be very palm to palm. Ch, 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 ch. For TH, what I like to do, if it's a held one, draw the arm across and give a time of release. One thing that sometimes happens with choirs is that on the TH sound, it's hard to know when to stop. Right? So having a release or something to signal release is really good. Which is different than the f, right? But could also be used if necessary there. If using the TH really, really quickly, a very good way of doing this, especially if it's at an ending TH, is just having the hand and flicking it up. This method makes consonants visible and tactile, offering alternative pathways for students with IEPs, speech processing disorders, or nonverbal learning differences, let alone individuals who maybe have never joined a choir before or are just starting out, or maybe haven't sang in a very long time. These tools are not just enhancements, they're invitations for all voices. For varying learners, they are gestures that offer predictability and visual focus. Friends, every singer deserves a voice that's both heard and understood, and every ensemble deserves a chance to sound unified and together. Not just because they all sound the same, but because they understand one another. It's important to understand our role as teachers and facilitators of choral music, and that all of humanity's voices be represented in our choirs. I'm Sam Gray, the Resonant researcher. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, clarity is kindness, and kindness sings.